All right, everyone, we start off today talking about Target because they appear to have no clue what they're doing. They're following in the wake of Budweiser. The Budweiser execs right now are probably happy. Oh, thank God somebody else is getting more flack than us in the post-Dylan Mulvaney era. Thank goodness someone else will take some heat off of us. Maybe we'll start selling beer again after losing literally tens of billions of dollars of product and having to rebuy a bunch of it because it expired before it could be sold. I would point out that the beer was never good to begin with, so why not just slash the price even further and then people will buy the old beer? Well, that's probably because they can't even give it away. In the most literal sense, it's still sitting there even though it is effectively free after a rebate offer. In Target's case, you'd think you watch for an entire month another company engaged in woke behavior of a deliberately antagonistic manner, and you decided to join in on the fun despite the fact that you watched them crumble, literally get crippled. We're talking about a steep double-digit loss in sales year over year for the same period of time. It's still, I think, about 25% as we speak. In fact, it might be getting worse. Now Target's going to drown it out of the news cycle. You won't get any more Budweiser updates. Target decided to one-up them by being completely two-faced with regards to it. Now here's what happened. For Pride Month, they started to stock a bunch of sexualized LGBTQ plus MAP in this case products and just happened to put them right next to the children's section. So, you can get your Pride anal plug and stuff. I'm being facetious. There aren't actually like sex toys in these Target stands, but there are how to tuck your pee-pee in underwear for young transgendered individuals who have a penis but don't want one, in some cases. And people said, well, that's a little bit odd. Why is it right next to the family section? Because, I want little Sally to get new shoes, and I have to take her past this display that's got this, this kind of sexualized underwear for tucking in. And, the LGBTQ Satan stuff, which is literally a thing now. And you'd think you're trying to convince the people that you've told for years that, hey, we're not a threat to society. All we want to do is get married, be treated equal and stuff. That was the ethos of the gay rights movement for gay, lesbian, bisexual people. It went on for decades. Like, hey, just leave me alone. I happen to like men, or I happen to like women, or whatever, and I'm not doing anything to you. All I want to do is be able to marry Cecil. And then that right was granted. Now, once you've won, there no longer needed to be particularly a social movement, but instead of now marching for equal rights, the marching keeps going on, but now it's more like people dancing around on the dildo float, and most of the people that are doing that are shunned, actually, by many individuals who happen to be gay or transgendered or whatever. You can talk to them. When you're a content creator and you get tips from 100 fucking people in some days, you hear from people their life stories. I've met a huge number of people who are completely gay or they're lesbians or whatever who are pissed off at this because it makes them, it gets them flack. They're like, oh, I don't want to sit on the dildo float or twerk for kids or whatever. They don't want drag queens to be magically declared to be a gender or a gender expression because it's not. It's a performance art. And they get ridiculed, and then when they speak out, they get ridiculed by the wokeoids too. So I actually feel sorry for most gay people in the country right now. It must be hard that after decades of fighting, you finally get actual equality in the legal sense, and then all of a sudden a bunch of other hipsters show up with again, dildo balloons wrapped around their head and wearing assless chaps and grinding on each other and wanting to do it in front of 10-year-olds and then declaring that to be a protected gender class or something like that, but it's not. Again, those acts are explicitly sexualized. With Target, the reason why people had a problem with this isn't, hey, you've got your Pride section. Nobody cares. The stuff's already there to begin with. I would note that there are stores like you go to Walmart, there's a section, they've got like condoms and lube and shit like that, but they don't put it next to the little Jimmy aisle, now do they? It's explicitly across the store. That's because little Jimmy does not need to be seeing a bunch of condoms and shit like that. Or vibrators. A little Sally doesn't need to be thinking about vibrators. She's 7 or something. But we've got this disturbing trend where now corporations are joining in on the fun, by the way. It's like Dylan Mulvaney. What's the average age of an audience member of his? 7 or something like that. I mean, it's TikTok. TikTok's got a very mentally underdeveloped overall user base. Most of them are not adults. And those that are adults, they lean towards the wee hours of the 20s as well themselves. So it's not exactly a broad plethora of people using the platform. I've analyzed that separately. Target has decided, well, until now, and that's why they're getting even more flack, to put the Pride section not in a part of the store that makes sense, but explicitly right next to the kids section. Therefore leading to people saying, look, you're trying to expose kids to this on purpose. So they enacted a boycott. Well, when you lose $9 billion worth of stock value almost instantaneously, by the way, a more precipitous drop than even Budweiser experienced, and then you freak out, and then you do, you literally remove the display and then put it in the back of the store like a dirty secret. Now you're going to continue to get flack from the people boycotting you for having done it in the first place. Because a lot of those people now think you're devil worshippers or something. So you get that flack. For the most part, those people aren't coming back to Target anytime soon. Now you're also going to get flack from the woke. Well, so basically the entire politically motivated segment of the U.S. population that would have been your clientele you have effectively pissed off. What proportion of the population is that in such a hyper-polarized climate? Probably more than half. Target could lose an enormous amount of money through doing this. Worse than Budweiser has suffered. Budweiser, at the end of the day, is just the main flagship beer anyway of a much larger beer conglomerate. They can absorb the cost. Yeah, Bud's the big one, but most people aren't boycotting all of the other sub-brands that they have. They don't even know that they're Budweiser products because of the modern corporate structure being like a gigantic hydra. Target, meanwhile, has chosen to do exactly the wrong thing. If I had been running Target, I wouldn't have done this in the first place. I would have blamed individual stores, thrown them under the bus, said, look, no. It wasn't my decision to put the Pride shit next to the little kids section. That was done by store managers. So I've issued a company-wide policy, if it has anything sexualized on it, please don't put it near Jimmy and Sally's aisle. Well, it would have blown over. Yeah, you'd still take a loss. It wouldn't be this big. That would be tact. That would be strategic. It might even win you some fans. Okay, you handled it tactfully. You still are going to celebrate Pride. You put out the mailer saying, look, I support the T in LGBTQ plus MAP. Maybe not the MAP part, but you won't say that in your company email because the wokers would come for you, which is weird. But we have to think about families that come here. They don't want to see that sort of thing, and they just want to buy shoes for Jimmy. That would have been tact. Yeah, it would have been a lot better. Instead, they decided to one-up Budweiser, and that's a hard act to fucking follow. So I am watching this saga with great glee and interest because watching corporations screw themselves. Again, these are run by people who supposedly are intelligent, make good decisions, and know about branding and public outreach and shit like that. But they keep making the same dumb mistakes over and over again, even when recently they've got a great example of exactly how not to do it. Target effectively has no clue what it's doing. It's phenomenal watching this for such a large corporate entity. That's about all. Peace out.